Hello and welcome to this continuing review series called UkeGuide. You can download the UkeGuides at ukestuff.info and you can go there and print this out. The idea was to originally make kind of a quick guide review of ukuleles, sort of like the appliance ratings that you get when you buy a new appliance. So today's instrument that I'm going to be talking about is this one. It's the Caramel Zebrawood Sopranino. It's the CP100. And Caramel, if you don't know, generally is an online ordering company through China. I had originally bought a number of these for a school that I was teaching at. And then Barry Maz at Gotaukulele reviewed one of their instruments and destroyed it. And he really did not like it. And that made me kind of back away from recommending Caramel. And I never personally owned Caramels, but I bought over 70 of them for a school at one point. So, kind of dealing with those emotions. The ones we used at school were a total tank. They withstood a lot of abuse from middle school students. But this one was a special one. And they used to sell Sopraninos, and they did up until recently sell some Sopraninos, and maybe they will again. You never kind of know what Caramel's doing and what they're offering. Right now they've got a solid acacia ukulele with slot head headstock, or a slotted headstock for $49 that I'm sort of tempted to get and review. So that company's always doing things. They're always at the bottom of the price point. The customer service has been good. In the past, when I had an issue with needing a new saddle, they sent me a whole bunch of saddles kindly, without any cost or anything like that when I was teaching with them. So the customer service has been good. They've always responded to emails. So, just buyer beware with Caramel and just leave it at that. One of the people that I watch on YouTube, because he's a real down-to-earth sort of fellow, is Rich Davis, and he really likes his Caramels, and I certainly won't fault him for that, because I think that they do make decent instruments that people are happy with, but Barry Maz really didn't like the concert Zebrawood that he was looking at. So, on to this instrument. This one was being sold online, and I ordered it. It took about a month to get here, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. But this is their Sopranino model that they used to sell, and it's sort of like the little brother of the other ones. And what I loved about it is that the concert ones that we had ordered and the tenor ones that we had ordered for our school, when I bought this, I brought it in one day and started playing it, and the kids were freaking out about it. And they said, what is that? Why is that so tiny? And I said, somebody left one of the ukuleles out in the rain. And of course, being middle school students, some of them actually believed me for a second or two. So that was kind of fun too. But this is kind of fun if you are into novelties or you want something you can pack with and travel. Somewhere on this channel I have a video of me playing this in the ocean, actually the Gulf of Mexico, when my family went to Florida a couple of years ago. And so it's nice. It fits into a bag. You don't have to worry about it. And it wasn't expensive. This thing was $29. That's it. Shipped. So it's almost like throwaway money there. I clearly spend more money on coffee probably on that in a month than I did on this instrument. Then for a few extra dollars, you could buy, actually what ended up being a really nice little gig bag. I wish they actually still sold these, because I have a couple other Sopraninos or smaller instruments that would benefit from this case. So it was really actually a really nice case, but it was not included for the $28, and I don't blame them for that. It also came with really thick Acappella. If they weren't nylgut strings, they were very close to it. I switched these over to fluorocarbon, but if I was going to do anything else, I think I would now go with Fremont hard black strings that allow you to tension these to GCA. Right now this one is tuned up to A, let's see, GCEA, so it's A, D, F sharp, B. So sort of that almost Canadian UK tuning that used to happen. So when I play a C chord, it's actually a D chord. Now, taking that to a convention or to a group can be a struggle, but if you're just playing by yourself, you just pretend that you're on C and you just leave it at that. So, $28, no longer really available, but I imagine if you emailed them and they found that there's interest, they could easily start selling these again. But they were an incredible deal. And I'll just leave it at that. So as you can imagine, when you actually have a instrument that's actually pretty nice and it works, the value far exceeds the price. So this may be one of the biggest home runs in just a purchase that I've ever done, just in terms of quality for the money that I spent. The build quality on this is really good. I mean, a lot of the concerts and tenors that I bought were really rough and shaggy. Now, there are some spots like on the fretboard at the very, very bottom. You can see that it isn't maybe totally perfectly smooth. You can see some maybe saw marks at the very, very end where it was cut. That doesn't impact me at all. The inside is nice and tidily built. It's got this great binding on the top and bottom, along with a little purfling there. The only negative is that the purfling there should probably also have been added around the sound hole, but they did that etching there in the sound hole. And then Zebrawood really is a love it or leave it sort of situation. So either you like Zebrawood or you think it's gaudy and you would never buy it. Pure soprano aficionados, which I am not, would get upset about the fact that there's geared tuners up there. Just for the record, Graphtec is now making the Ukulele tuners, which are coming to stores all over, and you can replace those with a sort of universal plenary tuner, or UPT, sort of build to make them not stick out, and they're much more affordable than traditional Gotos that people would replace. Like, for example, if you put Goto tuners, they cost about $60 a set if you get them at a good price. That would be literally almost 3 times the price of this, well, at least double the price of this instrument. Why would you do that? So I can deal with that, and I think that they did a really good job. I'm not really a big fan of Caramel's etching up here. Never have been. They also went to some stickers for a while on the ones that we owned, but I think they did a great job at matching the headstock size to the instrument. That's one of those complaints you often hear with the small instruments is, well, why didn't you make the headstock smaller? Well, I think they kind of did, and it kind of fits. So it ends up having kind of a bigger body. If you were to blow this up to a concert, it would actually be beefier than you'd think, even though it's not very thick, and that results in kind of a better sound. So I think it has a decent appearance. The size alone is going to make people interested, but it does have some little things here and there that are really nice. Unfortunately, it's not available, so if you want to buy it, you're going to have to try to find a used one. And playability, the nut width is really thin. It's 33 millimeters, which is 2 millimeters smaller than usual. And you might think a millimeter's, like, does it really matter? And the answer is, yeah, it does. But what I found is playing sopraninos, it helps me with the other instruments as well, so it's good practice. So it is playable, but the build is a little tighter than it needs to be. It would have been nice if they would have left it at a 35 millimeter nut, I think. The sound quality is okay. I mean, that was one of the things that Barry Maz really talked about with the Caramels, that it sounded dead and plywoody and whatever. But this is a Sopranino, and you don't expect a lot of sound out of it either. So I wouldn't say the sound is bad. I wouldn't sound great, but that's kind of where it's at. And it's not really loud, but it's not soft either. And it kind of falls as a laminate on the darker side. So let's just hear a couple things. I'll just play a little bit for you. So that's buzzing against a button here. That's not the instrument. So let's try it again. And I've also found that if I play it away from my body, it's a lot more punchy than when I hold it next to my body. So on this instrument in particular, I need to make sure that the back gets some resonance in there. And then you get a little bit fuller sound if that's what you want. But if all you're doing is playing to yourself on vacation and you want to bring a ukulele with you and you don't have that much space, or you don't want to drive your family crazy when you're on the beach, you can just sit there and play first position chords without too much difficulty. Now let's talk about it again. It's the Sopranino. It has 11 inches, just over 11.25 inches from nut to saddle, 12 frets, no side marker dots, unfortunately. The body style is a double bout, really kind of thick at the waist there if you think of it as a comparative larger size. Laminate Zebrawood top, back and sides. Also interesting is it looks like one piece top, but it's definitely two pieces on the back. You can actually see it there. And then two pieces on the side. And you'd think that for such a little instrument that even the scraps for making the other one, you wouldn't need to do multiple pieces. But hey, whatever, it works, right? The fretboard on these are rosewood. Of course, current instruments probably need to be going to walnut or something else because of the international wood restrictions that have started. The bridge is, interestingly, a slotted bridge like many traditional sopranos, which is nice instead of a tie bar. Much easier to swap the strings on those. Not a radius fretboard. It's flat. The nut and saddle are supposed to be buffalo bone right there, and they're not the saddle is not compensated for different string length. Sort of a satin finish. You can see some of the pores if I get close enough. You can see some of the pores in the finish. So the actual finished wood has kind of a texture to it. I wouldn't say it's unappealing or unattractive or looks low quality. This one actually really does make caramel look really good. It's 17.5 inches from tip to tail, 9.7 ounces, so very, very light. Open geared, generic caramel tuners. Got to get it in the light there in the right way so you can see it. And action at the first fret is below 0.5 millimeters, and action at the 12th fret is 2.5 millimeters, and I don't recall setting this one up, so I think this one came pretty well set up. The nut width was 32.72 millimeters, so that's really narrow, and the space at the first fret was only 7.7 millimeters between each of the strings for a total space of 26, almost 27 millimeters between G to A string. That's really narrow playing territory, so people with really large fingers would have some issues with this instrument. And the depth at the first fret is 21.53 millimeters at the third fret, the depth there at that point, which is a little chunky, but again, it's standard kind of Chinese import neck with that sort of C or D shape, if you want to think of it on the deal. As I was looking at the headstock, it does have a spot where the wood is met there, joined there, and there's a joint also there, which is kind of funny. Again, on such a small instrument, you think that they'd have just scraps would be long enough to make that neck. So in general, guys, Caramel used to offer these instruments. If you see one, it's worth a gamble. I did see some reviews online where some people had some issues, like there's even a picture where this rosette didn't go the whole way. I don't know. I guess I got a good one. I didn't do anything special to get a good one. They didn't send it to me as a bargain. I just bought it. So I think it functions well as a Sopranino, and I don't think you're really going to get much better tone even out of a solid wood Sopranino. I've got a couple that are either solid top or solid wood, and they all there's not a whole lot of like tone quality there to start with. So really, it's a win-win if you can find one of these. So this was a great suitcase ukulele for me, and I won't get rid of it, but certainly my Ohana pineapple that I couldn't pass up, which just looks amazing, is one that I usually take with me on trips now, and it's actually a little shorter than this one. So if I was to rate this on the Uke guides, as I look at these, I'd give it a solid 3.0. I mean, I can't give it a super great rating, partially because some of the negative reviews that were out there, but it's certainly not bad ukulele. So if you buy this, I think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and you certainly have enough money to get other strings to try with different tension. And again, you can afford to buy the extra bag, which I think was only like $10 or something like that. Definitely a fun little instrument to have. So that is my Caramel Zebrawood Sopranino, the CP100 model. Who knows? Maybe they'll come back, or maybe you can find one used somewhere. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.